Hey, what's up guys? This is the video for section 6.3. We are going to solve systems of equations, linear equations by elimination method. Now, for this video, I'm going to show you guys how to eliminate one of the variables by adding or subtracting the two equations. So first, let's go ahead and see what I'm talking about. I do have some steps that will help you guys know what to do when you want to use the elimination method. So just reading on your screen, it says here to solve a system by elimination method, you must, number one, write the equations in standard form. Remember, standard form is when you guys have the x and the y on the same side. So they must look like this: ax plus by equals, and the c. A, b, and c are going to be numbers, and you guys need to have the x and the y on the same side. The constant has to be on the other side. Number two, after you guys have those two equations, both of them in standard form, you guys need to eliminate one variable. You choose which one to eliminate. Doesn't matter which one. You might have an x, a y. You might have an a and a b. You might have a p and an m. Whatever variables they give you guys, choose one to eliminate. But always look for the one that's easier to eliminate. So I'm going to tell you guys what you need to eliminate one of the variables. To eliminate one of the variables, you must multiply one or both equations by a constant to obtain the same coefficient and different sign. So what that means is, to eliminate one of the variables, the two variables must have opposite sign, different sign, and the same coefficient. And just to give you guys an idea, let's say that you guys want to eliminate the x. So if you guys have a 7x, to eliminate that x, you must have a negative 7x, because when you guys add or combine, those two will equal to 0. So they do cancel. That's eliminating. You guys want to eliminate the variable. Fourth step, you guys want to add both equations and combine like terms and solve for the variable that is present. You might have an x or you might have a y. Remember that in step number one, you eliminate one of the variables. So, or you want, not eliminate, but you guys want to have the variables to have the same coefficient and different sign. In this step is when you guys actually eliminate the variable, the x, the y, whatever variable you guys have. And you guys will be able to solve for one variable. In step number 5, you guys will substitute the value of the variable that you got in step number 4. So let's say that in step 4 you got x equals 2. Well, you guys go back into the system, doesn't matter what equation you guys use, and you substitute the value of the variable, and you guys solve for the other variable. So if you guys got x equals 2 in step number 4, well, you're going to go back to one original equation, you substitute the 2 into the x, and you solve for the y. So these are the steps that will help you guys know how to eliminate one of the variables, how to use the elimination method. So let's go ahead and try with some examples. So here you guys see this system. I'm just going to read it to you guys. I'm just going to zoom in first. And we do have a 7x plus a 2y equals 10, negative 7 plus y equals negative 16. Remember, the idea of a system is you want to get the value of x, the value of y, that when you substitute into both equations, you guys will get a true statement. If you substitute the numbers, you will get 10. And when you substitute the numbers, the same numbers you guys use up here, you guys will get negative 16 for the bottom equation. All right, so step number 1. Step 1, you guys want to have the two equations in standard form. So let's check. 7x plus 2y, they're on the same side, the x and the y. Negative 7x plus y, they're on the same side, and the constant is on the other side. So step number 1 is done. We don't even have to do any work because both equations are in standard form. So now you guys check or go to step number 2. Step number 2, you guys choose what variable you guys want to cancel. So let's check. I want to choose the x or maybe the y to cancel. Now, just remember, step number 3, in order to cancel one of the variables, you guys need to have the same coefficient and different sign. So look at the x. The x, they have the same coefficient. They have a 7 up here, 7 down here, and it has different signs. So it's a lot easier to cancel the x. Can you guys cancel the y? Well, yes, you can. But in the next video, I'm going to show you guys how to cancel when you don't have the same coefficient. Notice there's a 2 here, there's a 1 here, and they don't have different signs. But for today, choose the one that has same coefficient and different sign. So which variable do I want to cancel? I'm going to cancel the x, right? Step number 3. Step number 3, well, let's check. They must have same coefficient and different sign. They do. It's already done. So now we go to step number 4. In step number 4, you guys will actually do the work. So I'm going to rewrite the system. And you guys see the system here. So all you do, guys, you are going to put a line under the system. So look at the line right here. And this is kind of going back to adding vertically from elementary. You guys learn how to add numbers. And I'm just going to put an example here. Remember, in elementary, you guys started adding 2-digit numbers, and you have something like this. And you have a line on the bottom. So they tell you guys, yeah, go ahead and add the 3 and the 7. So that's going to be 10. And then you guys carry the 1 up here. And then you add all the 1s. And that's going to equal 30. So I just want you guys to refresh your memory. You guys did vertical addition in elementary. Well, we're going to do almost the same thing here. We are going to add, but remember that we do have x's and y's, and we have constants. So you guys are going to add like terms. You're going to combine like terms, x's with x's, the y's with the y's, and constants with the constants. So first of all, I know that the x's are going to cancel. That's going to equal to 0. You don't have to write down the 0, but you guys move on to the y's. For the y's, I'm looking at the y's. I have a positive 2y. Down here, I have a positive y. So that's going to equal 3y. Equals, you bring down the equal sign, and now you do the constants, 10 minus 16. Careful with your signs. That's going to be negative 6. We are ready to solve for y. Look, we just divide by 3, and we can get y by itself. So this is going to turn into 1. Y equals negative 2. So we got the answer for the y. But remember that in the system, we are looking for 2 variables. So now we have to go back, and we have to substitute to find the x. And this is where you guys go to step number 5. I'm just going to put 5 down here. And I'm looking at the system up here. You choose 1 equations, and you guys substitute. I like the top because the bottom has a negative. It has a 16. That's bigger. 16, just the number 16, is bigger than 10. But it has a negative, and we also have a negative up here. So I always try to avoid negatives. So I'm going to use the top. Can you guys use the bottom? Yes, you can. And you guys will get the same answer. So I'm just going to rewrite the top. 7x plus a 2y, and we have a 10. I'm going to substitute the y, negative 2, into the y. So just remember, this negative 2 goes into the y, and you guys solve for x. So we have 7x plus a 2 times a negative 2, and you guys have equal 10. And you guys solve. 7x minus 4. You guys add 4 to both sides. And we get 7x cancels equals 14. Let me just move this up here. Now you guys divide by 7. So x equals 2. All right, so we got the x value. Now, how do you write the answer? Remember, you have an order pair. So we need a parenthesis. X is always first. So I have a positive 2 for x. And the y is next. So I have a negative 2 for the y. So we got the answer of the system. What this means, guys, is that x value and that y value, if you substitute a positive 2 into these x's and a negative 2 into these y's, you will get a true statement. You guys will get a 10 up here, and you guys will get a negative 16 down here. All right, guys, let's try another example. Now this one here, same idea. you guys are going to use the steps. Do you have to write down all the steps every time? No, I'm going to do that, guys. I'm not going to write down all the steps, but you just have to know what the steps are. And once you know what you're looking for, then you guys are able to move on to the next step. So let's go ahead and look for or check the steps that we need to do. So step number 1, do we have the 2 equations in standard form? Yes, we do. We have the x and the y on the same side, the x and the y on the same side. So look, I don't have to do any work. So I'm going to skip step number 1 because it's already done. Step number 2, choose one variable to cancel. So I'm looking at the x, I'm looking at the y's, and remember that in step number 3, in order to cancel, eliminate the variable, you must have the same coefficient and different sign. Look at the y's. Same coefficient and different signs. Okay, guys, so now we can move on to step number 4. In order to eliminate, you guys already have the same coefficient and different signs. Just add the 2 systems. So this is all you do, guys. I know I'm going to add, so I'm just going to put a point, and notice that I'm not writing down the steps because you don't have to. You just have to know what the steps are. So I can cancel the y's. Right away, the y's cancel. So 8x plus 5x, I combine like terms. That's going to be 13x. And over here, 20 minus, you bring down the equal sign. Remember, here's the equal sign. You bring it down. And 20 minus 59, that equals negative 39. So we can actually solve. So let me just write down negative 39. We can solve for x. You divide by 13 on both sides, and you guys will have x equals negative 3. All right, so we got the x. What's the last step? Step number 5. You guys are going to substitute into one original equation. So just ignore this line right here, but look at the actual equations. 8x plus 11y equals 20. 5x minus 11y equals negative 59. I don't like that number, so I'm going to use the top. So now I'm going to look for the y. So I'm going to rewrite the top equation. So right here, guys, 8x plus 11y equals 20. And I'm going to substitute negative 3 into the x. That's what we got. X equals negative 3. You substitute into the x. So now we have 8 times, and I'm going to substitute the negative 3 there, plus 11, the y equals 20. You guys solve. So we got negative 24 plus 11 equals 20. You guys add 24 to both sides. So this cancels. 11y equals 44. You guys divide. And check this out, guys. That turns into 1. Y equals 4. So we got the x and the y. So now you guys write down your solution. And your solution, x is always first, negative 3. And y is always second. Here's the x, here's the y, and you guys have your solution. Do you guys have to write down the x and the y on the top? No, you do not. I do it every time just for you guys to remember what order you must have the numbers. X is always before the y, alphabetical order. All right, guys, so let's try this one here. We have 6m minus 3p equals 27. And the bottom equation is 2m minus 3p equals 11. Let's go ahead and look at the actual steps. Step number 1. Are the 2 equations in standard form? Yes, they are. And I want you guys to notice, we don't have an x and a y. We have an m and a p. That's okay. You guys just need to have the same variables on both equations. They both have an m, they both have a p. So the m, the variables m and p are on the same side. The constants is on the other side. And p is on the same side, constants is on the other side. So we do have the standard form. Step number 2, you guys choose one variable to cancel. But remember, we want to have the same coefficient and different sign. So I'm looking at the m's. The m's do not have the same coefficient. So I'm going to check the p's. The p's, they have the same coefficient. Okay, but let's go ahead and check the signs. Oh, they don't have different signs. They both negatives. So even though that happens, guys, I'm going to show you what to do to change the sign in order to have different signs. So right now, it's a lot easier to cancel the p because they have the same coefficient, the same number. So let's go ahead and cancel the p. But what do we do with the actual sign? If you guys have the same sign, so notice the coefficients, they have the same sign. Doesn't matter if it's a positive or if it's a negative. All you do, guys, to change the signs, you want to multiply one equation by a negative 1. Doesn't matter which equation. You guys just choose one equation. I'm going to choose the bottom. Can you guys choose the top? Yes, but you only multiply one equation by a negative 1. So what happens when you multiply? Let me just go to the right side. The top says the same. 6m minus 3p equals 27. The bottom, when you guys distribute, remember you're multiplying by a negative 1. Well, all you do, guys, when you multiply by a negative 1, you just change the sign of the numbers. So the 2m becomes a negative 2m, minus 3p becomes a positive 3p, and 11 becomes a negative 11. So you just multiply by a negative 1, you change the signs of the numbers. The 1 will not change the number. You multiply anything by 1, and it's going to be itself. Hey, guess what? The p's have the same coefficient and different sign. So that negative 1, when you multiply, it helps you to change the sign. All right, so now we go to step number 4. You guys add both equations. So look, the p's gone. Let's check out the m's. Remember, we changed the sign of the negative of the 2. Now it's negative. So careful with your signs. 6 minus 2, that's going to be 4m. Let me bring down the equal sign. And 27 minus 11 is 16. You guys divide by 4, and we got m. M equals 4. All right, so now we go back and solve for the other one. Now, my original system is right here. Ignore the negative 1. We have this top equation and this bottom. You guys choose one equation, the top or the bottom, doesn't matter which one, and you guys will find the next variable. So I'm going to choose the bottom. The bottom is 2m minus 3p. There's the equal 11. I'm going to substitute 4 into the m, and I'm going to solve for p. So 2 times 4 minus 3p. But notice I substitute 4 into the m, and now I solve. So we get 8 equals 3p equals 11. You guys subtract 8. So negative 3p equals 3. And now you guys divide by negative 3. So I'm dividing and dividing. So this turns into 1. P equals negative 1. All right, guys. So we got the m and the p. So now for your solution, let's think about it. Alphabetical order. Which variable, which letter is first? The m or the p? The m. So you guys will put m first. There's the 4, comma, and then you guys have your p. So remember that your order is always in alphabetical order. And if they give you guys different variables, that's what you do. You guys want to know which one is first alphabetical order, and that's the one you put first. So we got the answer for negative 1, and we have solved the system. I do have another one for you guys. So let's go ahead and look at the last one for this video. Now, this example has fractions. So when you guys solve a system with fractions, it's a lot easier if you guys get rid of the fractions and then you start solving the system just with no fractions. So I'm looking at the first equation. Let me just zoom in here. And the first one, we have a 3 over 4x minus a 2, 1/2, not 2, 1/2 y equals 8. So I need to get rid of this fraction. We have 2. And then on the bottom, we have a 3 over 2x plus 1/2 y equals 19. Remember that to get rid of the fraction, you can always multiply by the common denominator. And if you guys look on the top equation, we have a denominator of 4, we have a denominator of 2. So let's look for the lowest common denominator. And for those two denominators, it's 4. So I'm going to multiply all of this equation, all that, by a 4. On the bottom equation, before I distribute this 4 to this equation, let's just look at the bottom. I notice that denominators are the same. So all you have to multiply by on the bottom is a 2 and multiply everything, the whole equation, by 2. That is the denominator that we have. So let's do the work on the right side. And when you guys distribute, remember that you are multiplying the 4 times the top, and then you keep the denominator. Multiply the top, keep the denominator, and over here you just multiply the 4 and the 8. So I'm going to have 4 times 3, that's going to be 12. And you guys keep the denominator. There's a 4. And there's the x minus 4. And you guys keep the denominator. We have a 2. And there's the y. And then you multiply 4 times 8, which is 32. On the bottom, same thing. You are going to distribute the 2 times the top times 3 times the 1 on the top and 19. And if you have the fraction, you keep the denominator. So we have a 6 over 2x plus a 2 over 2y, and you multiply 2 times 19, and that is 38. So we put the 38 here. Now you guys can simplify. We have the fraction, 12 over 4, so 12 divided by 4. 4 divided by 2, we have this fraction here, 6 divided by 2, and 2 divided by 2. So let's just simplify those fractions, and that's going to get rid of the fractions that we started with. So it's going to be 3x minus 2y equals 32. That's the top equation. And on the bottom, 3x plus 1y equals 38. All right, let's go ahead and check. The steps to solve by elimination, you want the two equations in standard form. So x and y are on the same side, x and y are on the same side. The constant is on the other side. We do have the standard form. Step number 2, you guys are going to choose one variable to cancel. Now remember that you always want to look for the one, if possible, if you have one, the same variable that has equal coefficients and different signs, the same coefficient and different signs. So I notice the x's, they have the same coefficient, but they don't have different signs. They're both positive. Right now they have the same sign. So remember, just to change the sign, you multiply by -1. Doesn't matter which equation you multiply. I'm going to choose the top, and you multiply by -1. You can also choose the bottom, and you can multiply by -1. But I'm just going to do this right here. And I'm just going to write it down on the bottom. So we have negative 3x. Notice, remember that we are multiplying. You distribute the -1, you multiply over here. So we have a negative 3x plus 2y, a negative times a negative is a positive, and negative 32. The bottom says the same, 3x plus 1y, and we have a 38. I'm going to put the line. Remember that we are combining the two equations. So the x's, you can cancel. Negative 3x plus 3x cancels. For the y's, 2y plus 1y, that's 3y. And negative 32 plus 38, that's going to be 6. You guys divide by 3. And we have y, this turns into 1, equals 2. All right, we got the y value. Now you guys go back, and since we have fractions in the original system, I don't want to use these fractions. So you guys can go back to this system right here. No fractions. It's going to give you the same answer. And choose one equation, and you substitute the 2 and solve for x. So I will choose the bottom equation. So now I'm going to take the bottom, 3x plus the 1y equals 38. And I'm going to substitute right here into the y, the number 2. So we have 3x plus 1 times, and there's a 2, equals 38, and you guys solve. So we have 3x plus 2 equals 38. Subtract 2 from both sides. So we have 3x equals 36. You guys divide, and my x value, remember this turns into 1, is 12. So x equals 12 and the y equals 2. So now you guys can write your answer. So my answer in my point is going to be a 12 and a 2. You always want alphabetical order, x and then the y. Alright guys, so this right here concludes my video for this section 6.3, which is elimination method when you add or subtract. Make sure you guys practice your math, and I'll see you guys later.